The fact is that Bitcoin is kind of taking market away from gold. It's taking market away from fiat money. It also takes market away from the so-called altcoins. And I guess the second biggest coin, or one of the biggest altcoins out there, would be Ethereum. And you've written a piece for KC Research, quote, "A Rube Goldberg of buzzwords. 7 reasons to sell all your Ethereum today and buy Bitcoin." Right, we don't usually talk about altcoins, but this piece was pretty compelling. Tell us about it.
Yeah, as I've been saying, I've been following this for 35 years. And so far, nobody has beaten the market, any professional, any market, except for maybe 2 or 3 people. Nobody beats the market on a consistent basis. There is no evidence of that. After years and years and years of research and compilation of data and publishing of data, there's been no successful trader who has consistently beaten the market in a meaningful way over any consistent length of time. Right. If you go to, Giovanni, if you go to a casino in Las Vegas and you talk to every gambler in there, they'll say, "Oh, we're making lots of money. We've always made lots of money. I'm making money gambling." No gambler tells you they're losing money. Anyone who's telling you they're making money in altcoins is lying. You may make money 1 month or 2 months, but are you going to make money over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years gambling? No. We know categorically, emphatically, without equivocation, the answer is a big fat no.
The fact is that Bitcoin is kind of taking market away from gold. It's taking market away from fiat money. It also takes market away from the so-called altcoins. And I guess the second biggest coin, or one of the biggest altcoins out there, would be Ethereum. And you've written a piece for KC Research, quote, "A Rube Goldberg of buzzwords. 7 reasons to sell all your Ethereum today and buy Bitcoin." Right, we don't usually talk about altcoins, but this piece was pretty compelling. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, a lot of people who are new to the space, they lump or don't know about the space. They lump Bitcoin in with Ethereum and these altcoins. But the reality is they're not even in the same universe. It's completely inappropriate to lump them in. So I don't think anybody is looking at Ethereum as a store of value. Anybody serious is looking at Ethereum as a store of value. So what I did in this piece is I just took a deep dive on it and looked at what is it? What really is it? And what attributes does it have? And compared them to Bitcoin. In short, Ethereum is not immutable. It can be censored. It has a flexible, arbitrary monetary policy that is hard to audit and is controlled by developers who prefer inflation. It has its network is centralized. Its network infrastructure is centralized into this company called Infura. So it's not decentralized in the same way as Bitcoin is. It has an unclear use case. Bitcoin has a crystal clear use case. It's a hard money monetary system that is accessible to anybody and controlled by nobody. But what real world it works? Bitcoin works in the real world, and it solves probably mankind's biggest problem, which is storing and exchanging value. That's what Bitcoin solves. What does Ethereum solve? As far as I can tell, I haven't seen anything built on Ethereum that has added any kind of economic value or solved any kind of real world problem.
No, it's clearly a pump and dump scheme. They have this enormous pre-mine, which is something, again, you don't find with Bitcoin, but with Ethereum, they've got tens of millions of these coins lying around, and then they go on these massive pump and dump schemes. It could be ICOs, it could be IEOs, it could be DeFi, and now you've got this NFT craze. It's just clearly a money laundering, pump and dump, Ethereum-led. It looks to me like money laundering, and I believe, last I checked, that's illegal, but there's a lot of people who are vested in it, and you've looked at the pre-mine, right? It's pretty big.
Yeah, well, the Ethereum pre-mine, there's a lot of problems with this. I mean, this is similar to the, if people don't know, basically pre-mine is something where people who are creating a cryptocurrency create units of the cryptocurrency before it's mined. The first block is mined, which is traditionally how new supply has entered into the system. So Ethereum had an enormous pre-mine. It's very similar to the shenanigans you'll see in the penny stock market with pump and dumps, where insiders give themselves, paper them up, paper themselves up with cheap paper and then dump it onto the public. Now, the thing with Ethereum that is problematic with this is its ownership centralization. The ownership of Ethereum has been and always is and always has been centralized into this group of people who participated in the pre-mine. And to this day, the pre-mine, I think it exists as it is to the current supply of Ethereum, is over 60% still to this day. But there's another problem with pre-mines, is that they're effectively offerings of unregistered securities, and that tends to get the attention of government agencies.
Yeah, a lot of people know that Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision are exit scams written by, created and managed by narcissists and megalomaniacs. But a lot of people don't realize how bad Ethereum is and how risky it is and what the probability is of them getting shut down for selling unregistered securities. But people do silly things. And so I think that would fall into the category of silly things. Now, with gold, the central banks of the world have all the pre-mine, you could say. They own most of the gold, regulate the paper markets on which the price is controlled. And, gold in a lot of ways is another altcoin at this point. It's got so many drawbacks, which were not obvious because until Bitcoin came around, people didn't really focus on the fact that, hey, you know what? Gold is actually a horrible store of value and a medium of exchange. As a medium of exchange, it's quite awful. As a store of value, it's not as bad as cowrie shells or storing old telephone books like Peter Schiff does. He's got a whole warehouse full of old telephone books that I think his whole wealth is stored in. But, compared to Bitcoin, it's really quite falls short. Now, would you ever use gold as a hedge unless you're a government or a central bank? I mean, you're big, Casey's big on gold. Is he totally gonna switch over to Bitcoin entirely now, or is Casey still stuck on gold, Nick?
Well, the thing is that what I'm interested in is money. What has the best monetary properties? I'm not particularly wedded to anything. I want something that has the best monetary properties, and I want to look at that with open eyes and analyze that. I'm not writing off gold completely, but you're right, going down the list of all the attributes of money. And money is not that hard to understand. Money is just something that stores and exchanges value. That's all it is. It's not complicated. So look at the attributes of gold and Bitcoin and analyze them on its ability to store and exchange value. Now, most people can't wrap their minds around this because gold has really never had any competition for thousands of years of human history. Now it has a serious competitor that could dethrone it. And the most important attribute of gold is, look at the history of money. The history of money is the hardest money wins. Bitcoin is now harder than gold. It's better at gold than gold. And what I mean by hardness is resistance to inflation. A lot of people think hardness is something tangible. It has to be a metal. It has to be something physical. That's not what hardness means. Hardness means hard to produce. So in other words, resistant to inflation. And why was gold money always? It's because gold was the one commodity that was most resistant to inflation. That's what made it a good money. Bitcoin, and how do you measure hardness? You measure hardness with the stock to flow ratio. And that is what measures hardness. And Bitcoin now is harder than gold, according to the stock to flow ratio. So in that category, gold's most important attribute, Bitcoin, it beats it.